This is my story of faith, hope, courage, and strength. On our 10th year anniversary, my husband and I were far from celebrating such a milestone in our marriage. Dinner and exchanging gifts were not on the agenda the day of March 17th, 2018. I was ready to give up on our marriage. This wasn't just another ordinary fight. This was the ultimate fight, the fight that changed our lives forever. I walked out of our house heated and mad as hell, slamming the door. In my hands, I had my Bible and my journal. My love for hair and beauty started when I was young. After high school, I became a hairdresser. I was making plans to move to New York City to pursue a career in the beauty industry, with a dream of owning my own salon one day and making the impact with my vision for beauty. Then life changed with a blink of an eye when I met my husband and soon became pregnant after. Life together moved faster than the speed of light, having bought a home and built a family in just 10 short months. For the next 10 years, as I was busy raising 4 beautiful kids and being a housewife, I still dreamed and hoped of owning my own hair salon. With the attempt to look for space and start the process, the Lord whispered to me, "Not yet, Anna. Be patient. I will show you when it's time." After our 4th baby, the biggest hat I was wearing was being a mom. We were blessed and rich in having a beautiful life we had made together. But it came with many challenges. I had put my career and my dream on the back burner to give my family the best of me. After so many years of working part-time from home, it became more like an aggravating feeling of feeling overwhelmed and leaving me in a lonely, helpless mindset. The struggles of everyday life, like paying bills, our marriage, and doing hair with kids hanging on my side, all while trying to put food on the table. I felt like this wasn't the American dream I had sought out to live. Life got me weak. I started drinking wine out of water bottles. I was numbing the feeling of unhappiness. Life felt like Groundhog's Day inside my 4 walls of my house. I felt extreme guilt and hopelessness, being torn between fulfilling everyone's needs and doing what I felt was calling me, and that was hair. I loved my kids with all my heart. However, deep down I felt I knew I was meant for more. I felt like a little piece of my soul was being pulled at, and every day I prayed to God for a sign of change. And one day I dropped the boys off at the school and I was like, let's go to Barnes & Noble's and kill 2 hours. So as we're there, I'm walking around up and down the aisles and I just pick up like a random book out of the bookshelves or whatever. And it was a book from Joyce Meyer. It read How to Hear from God. Well, this book wasn't really like sitting with me, it was whatever. And I went to put it back on the shelf and I picked up this other book that was like standing out and it had a bald eagle on the front cover. 2 weeks prior to this, there was 2 bald eagles that were flying around in our backyard. So I picked up this book and I opened up to just a random chapter. And the chapter was called The Flight Plan. I started reading the paragraphs, and in the paragraph it said something along the lines, if you're serious about opening up your neighborhood beauty shop, your business plan will be different than other business plans. And I literally was like, is this like a sign? Is this like from God? What's going on? I kid you not, in that moment I was so excited and so shocked, and I was like, is this my time? Is it, God said he will show me when it's time, and he literally showed me. And right in that moment, as excited as I was, I feel like I caught the gist of like fear and like I wasn't good enough. So with that, I went to put the book back on the shelf. I was like, I can't do this. I'm not ready for this. I don't have money. I don't have good credit. Like, I don't have time. Like, I don't know a thing about business. So I went to put the book back on the shelf, and then when I go to turn around, I literally looked on the ground and there was a $20 bill next to my foot. I looked at the $20 bill. First of all, I was like, is this like a joke? Is somebody like playing a joke on me? There's no way I couldn't see this $20 bill when I first went down the book aisle, and I would have seen it, but I didn't see it. And I would have felt somebody, like someone's energy around me if they were around me, but obviously nobody was around. I picked up the $20 bill. God whispered to me. He said, Anna, don't be afraid. Go forth. I will provide. Here's your first $20 to prove it. I just started bawling my eyes out. Ariana saw me and she's like, Mom, are you crying? And I'm like, no, I just have really bad allergies. That night, being on cloud 9, I excitedly broke the news to my husband, but his reaction took me by surprise. He didn't want any parts of it. He was scared and didn't know how we were going to have the means for starting a business. I felt heartbroken and shattered. I told my husband, that's fine if you don't want to be part of this. It's your choice, but if you choose not to be part of it, don't stand in my way because I'm doing it with or without you. For months, I stayed up many sleepless nights studying and learning how to form a business plan. Along the way, I kept a journal of my accomplishments and struggles. I even wrote to the local church to share my vision and for some personal moral support. As things were coming together, I still felt a tug and a sense of uncertainty that something wasn't completely right. I was strong, but I felt lonely and abandoned by my husband. He was supposed to be my partner in life, through thick and thin, in sickness and in health, for rich or for poor. But these vows started to demean as I felt like I was losing and growing apart from my husband. As tension grew higher when we crossed paths every day, his questions or concern were minimal about the business ventures. I will never forget in the middle of an argument as we're driving, my little boy stopping us and saying to me these words of encouragement. Don't worry, Mom, you'll get your salon. This gave me some hope and drive to keep going, yet I still felt lonely, which made me more bitter, and eventually things hit the fan. The big blowout was bound to happen. My husband wasn't budging. His stubborn ego didn't even want to see the progress. His concern was not putting the family at risk by taking a loan out to possibly lose our house if the business failed. I pleaded with him that I had faith in God and that the fear of the unknown is okay. God is in the lead. We just have to trust Him. Why isn't what we have here and what I made for you enough? My husband yelled. He was so mad at the answer I gave him, because what I have here is surely a blessing. The kids, you, this house is amazing, but this is not where my life stops. I've always wanted to have my own salon, and I know I was meant for more. Doesn't mean I don't love or want this life. It just means that this isn't my last stop. My destiny and my purpose is still yet to be fulfilled. That day was our 10-year anniversary. I remember I was on my last rope. Like I felt so shattered and heartbroken because I was like, this is the end of our marriage. I went down to this park that I used to go to as a kid called the Monument. I remember crying the whole way to the Monument, and I remember just like writing all my frustrations in my journal and basically just pleading to God and saying, you know, why have you brought me to this point where my marriage is now getting compromised, and you know, you led me to this, you put this on my heart, but you know, Satan is using my husband against me, and you know, where are you taking me with this journey? Like, why is this becoming so hard? After I said that, I wrote in my journal, like, I put my husband on the altar to you, God. Like, I give him to you. I put him in your hands. You have to take the lead. I can't do this without you. I surrender everything that I have in my heart, everything that you put on my path to you. And as soon as I said that, I just felt this like sense of calm come like on me. The very next day, the breakthrough happened. The very next day, I got up and I went to church, and for some reason, Ken wanted to come with us. So we went to church that day. I don't know what God did, but that day at church, there was a rock at the front that the pastor was telling everybody to come to and just put all their sins into that rock and just let all their worries and fears, put it right on that rock. And I look over to Ken, and he just got up and went up to the front, and he just, I don't know what happened to him, but when he got back up, he had tears coming down his face, and he was saved by the Lord. And after the church service, the pastor came up to us, and he knew everything that was going on with the business and our business ventures, and he asked us, how's everything going and all that. And I turned around and I was like, really good, blah blah blah, but my husband still, he kind of doesn't really want any parts of it still. So the pastor, he took us and he said to us, he's like, oh my God, I feel some tension with you guys. Let me just pray upon you guys. So he said a prayer to us, but he basically said, you know that it's from God if a husband and wife can agree on it. If you guys can't agree on it, then I would just hold off. So of course that kind of made me a little upset, because I was like, oh man, my husband's not on board. This still is like not happening. So we left that day. The way he worked in both of us that day at church, we were in the car, and I looked up to him, and to my husband, I said, babe, you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe I shouldn't do this business because, maybe I'm not ready. And I was really upset, and he turned around to me and he said, no, Ann, you're doing this, like you're doing the business. That was the first time I feel like he kind of had like a little bit of change of heart to kind of come on board. So I'm driving around Pittman, and out of nowhere, this was like so spontaneous. Out of nowhere, I turned the corner down on the street. I see this bench in the trash, and I quick drive up to it, and I pull over, and the building that this bench was in front of, I looked up, and the building had a for rent sign on the window. I was like, oh, okay. So not even like a couple seconds later, a guy comes out of the building, and I said, hey, excuse me, sir, is this building for rent? He's like, oh yeah, as a matter of fact, yeah, I just put the sign up like an hour ago. So I was like, get out of town. It was like just so meant to be or something. He said, do you want to come in and take a look? I was like, absolutely. So I had all 4 kids with me. I bring all the 4 kids inside, and I'm looking around, and as excited as I was, I still kind of felt a little bit like a tug of war, because I still felt like my husband wasn't on board, and I didn't want to do this on my own. So I just took a leap of faith, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to call Ken and see if he wants to come look at this place. So I called him and I said, babe, can you please come and look at this place for me? So he's like, okay, fine. So he comes, and we ended up spending almost 2 hours in the building. Mind you, that morning when I woke up, the first message that I read on my social media feed was, "Congratulations on your accomplishment today." And I just kind of blew it off. I was like, oh, it's just another message as I'm scrolling through my feed. After Ken came and we spent almost 2 hours here, when we left, you could just see the joy in my face, like how happy I was. And I think Ken just picked up that energy from me, and as we're walking to the car, he literally stopped me dead in my tracks, and he took my hand, he looked me dead in the eyes, and he was like, "Babe, congratulations, you just got your salon." And I was instantly flashbacks of the pastor saying, when it's from God, a husband and wife can agree on it. And the thing in the morning where it said congratulations, that was a sign. Who would have known this would have happened later on that day? And from that day on, I just feel like God saved my husband. Now he's on board. Now it just gave me this sense of relief, and now I can do this business, and I have my best friend on board, and it just felt so awesome. So the next day I went and I applied at the local bank. I went that Monday to check my mailbox, and in my mailbox I got a letter saying, "Congratulations, you've been approved up to $6,000. We came in here, we signed the lease, and once we started work and everything, we had this loan that we were using. Ken turned around, stopped me and turned around and said, "Babe, I hope that you know what you got yourself into, because this is gonna be a lot more than what you bargained for. $6,000 is not gonna be enough for me to finish the project. I mean, the plumbing alone is, $5,000, $6,000. The next week, I was like, all right, where am I gonna get my next loan or whatever it was? So I went and applied at another bank. I went through the whole application process, and a couple days later, I'm driving here to do some things, and I get a notification on my cell phone from the bank saying, "Congratulations, you've been approved up to $25,000. When I read this, I literally had to pull over on the side of the road and just kind of rub my eyes and wake myself up, and it's like, oh my God, am I reading this correctly? Does it say 25,000? For me to get approved for that much that was from God. This kind of stuff I feel like comes from God. And when he said he will provide, he provided. He provided not any less than I needed, not any more than I needed. He provided just the right amount to open my business. And it's insane how things happen. We opened Beautiful You Salon on October 20th, 2018, 5 months after signing the lease on May 18th. Two things that I want to tell you guys is put God first, and everything else will follow. And Google is the best thing. If you don't know to do something, God, Google, and then you're good, okay?
God, Google. Stick to the G's.
Stick to the G's. And I just want to thank this man right here, my husband, for doing everything in the shop. He did everything for me, and I love him. The whole entire journey took 9 months to birth, from the special day of January 16th, when the Lord placed it on my heart. We are now a busy and thriving, growing salon with 5 employees, and we're looking to expand in the near future. God is more than gracious and loyal to our needs. We just have to let Him in our hearts and follow His lead. Beautiful You is God's purpose for me, to help women look and feel beautiful and spread the story of His gracefulness.